Welcome. The rule of law is more than a principle. It is the fundamental framework for a modern, prosperous, and harmonious society. It ensures that power is exercised justly, rights are protected, and every individual operates under the same fair rules. In this module, we will explore the 5 essential pillars that make this framework strong, stable, and effective for everyone. But before we examine laws and institutions, we must start with the foundation, the legal consciousness of a society itself. This brings us to our first pillar, legal culture. In the West, Roman law is renowned for its rigorous logic and systematic codification, laying the foundation for the modern civil law system. The 12 tables of the 5th century BC was an important milestone in ancient Roman law, marking the birth of Roman codified law. Around the same time in China, Li Kui compiled the canon of laws by synthesizing historical legislative wisdom. This became the first systematic codified feudal code in Chinese history. Like the 12 tables of the same era, the canon of laws in Chinese means 法经, signified the codification and standardization of ancient Chinese law. Over generations, starting from ancient Chinese laws, a distinct Chinese legal system gradually formed. This system emerged under China's unique historical and cultural context. It embodies the collective spirit and wisdom of the Chinese nation and features traditional Chinese culture in world legal history. Therefore, it stands out as a singular legal system in the global legal landscape. Let's first trace its formation and development. As early as the Xia dynasty, China developed the initial legal norms. This is recorded in history as when disorder arose in Xia, Yu, her first emperor, created penalty laws. During the Western Zhou dynasty, the legal principle of emphasizing virtue and being cautious with punishment emerged, advocating for moral governance and the careful use of penalties. The humanistic spirit, the integration of rule of virtue and rule of law, and the people-oriented philosophy inherent in the Chinese legal system all originated from these foundations of the Zhou dynasty. During the spring and autumn and warring states periods, Chinese law advanced rapidly. By the end of the spring and autumn period, China began to publish codified laws. Zi Chan, chief minister of the state of Zheng, cast the penal code onto Ding, an ancient ritual bronze tripod for public display, ensuring adherence. In the Warring States period, the canon of laws was enacted and enforced. It featured a systematic structure and a strong logic. As the basis for subsequent codification, the canon of laws was of great significance to the development of the legal system in ancient China. Meanwhile, the realm of legal thought became unprecedentedly active, giving rise to a flourishing scene of 100 schools of thought contending. Confucianism valued benevolence and righteousness, focusing on governance by virtue and benevolent rule. Taoism introduced the concept that heaven follows the Tao and the Tao follows nature, thereby dismissing the absolute authority of divine mandate. Legalism advocated ruling by law. In 221 BC, after the Qing dynasty unified China, the laws of Qing were uniformly applied across the nation, achieving legal integration. Qing adopted legalism as the guiding ideology for its legal system. This ideology primarily included the principles of all matters being determined by law and unification of laws. Furthermore, laws of Qing dynasty were comprehensive, covering political, economic, cultural, social, and ecological aspects. During this period, important institutions of the Chinese legal system were created, revised, and developed, gradually taking shape through practice. By the Sui and the Tang dynasties, the Chinese legal system had matured. During the Tang dynasty, a unique and comprehensive legal system was established. It included the legislative guiding ideology of taking morality and rights as the principle and taking penalty as the tool for governance. The legal forms primarily consist of Lü means code, Ling means statutes, Ge means regulations, and Shi means ordinances, as well as a well-developed judicial system. The commentary on the Tang Code is exemplary, consisting of two parts, legal texts and discussions. The legal texts refer to the provisions of the Tang Code, and the discussions refer to the interpretation of the provisions. The two parts share the same effect. The Tang Code covers a wide range of areas, including criminal, civil, and economic matters. For example, there is an adjudicative principle that one should illustrate the serious by citing the minor, and explain the minor by referencing the serious. It refers to a situation where there is no explicit legal provision. One can infer the appropriate legal outcome by comparing it to similar cases that are either less severe or more severe. Also, the Tang Code includes matters related to ownership, contractual relationships, family and marriage, as well as inheritance. Furthermore, regulations concerning crime among foreign persons represent the practical experience of ancient international private law. The structure, institutions, and content of the Tang Code were among the best in the world at the time. It was comparable to Roman law and the Napoleonic Code, making it one of the three great codes of the historical era of private ownership. The Tang Code significantly influenced the legislation of various East Asian and Southeastern Asian countries. From the 8th to the 14th centuries, fundamental legal rules like Japan's Taiheiho Code, Korea's Goryeo Code, and Vietnam's Penal Code directly adopted many elements of the Tang Code in terms of content, form, concepts, and principles. During the Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties, Chinese legal system continued to evolve and became more comprehensive. After the late Qing dynasty, the system transitioned towards a modern legal system. The wisdom of the Chinese legal system in governance concepts, legislation, enforcement, and judiciary provides a solid cultural foundation and a rich practical experience for the system of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics. Next, we will delve into the four core pieces of its enduring philosophical wisdom. The first is integration of rights and laws, and governance with comprehensive measures. In the West Zhou dynasty, there was a principle of emphasizing virtue and being cautious with punishment. In the Han dynasty, the thought of adjudicating cases with reference to classics emerged. In the Tang, Song, Ming, and Qing dynasties, different kinds of legal practices took shape. All these ideas and practices reflect the ideology of integration of rights and laws. The ideology is a distinct feature of the traditional Chinese rule of law culture. It suggests that in governing a nation, rituals and laws should be combined, with emphasis placed on both moral education and legal systems. This reflects the complementary relationship between law and rights. In ancient China, a dual approach was adopted in the implementation of state governance and social management. On the one hand, individuals were spiritually guided by recognizing the dual nature of human morality. On the other hand, morality was used to influence people's thoughts and emotions, while laws regulated their behavior. This dual approach aimed to achieve governance through both morality and law. Governance with comprehensive measures is another concept in ancient Chinese statecraft. It emphasizes the integrated use of legal, moral, administrative, and economic approaches to achieve social harmony and stability. Such an approach embodies the diversity and flexibility of governance methods. The second is codification as the foundation and legislation based on customs. The Chinese legal system boasts a long-standing tradition of codified laws. Different legislative forms were established since ancient times, such as 律, 令, 格, and 士. Notable examples of legal texts based on these forms include the Tang Code, 至元性格, new ruling of the 至元 reign, and models of Datong. These unified codification systems and legislative techniques from ancient Chinese legal codes remain relevant today, providing cultural support for the refinement of model legal codification. The concept of legislation based on customs comes from the Book of Lord Shang, and it emphasizes creating laws that reflect national conditions and practical realities. For instance, Shangyang abolished the well-field system, #shaped field system, and recognized private land ownership based on his understanding of the customs and national conditions of Qing dynasty at that time. Historically, China has been a vast, unified, and multi-ethnic nation. The regional differences and ethnic characteristics were fully reflected in ancient legislation. This approach maintained national unity while adapting to local specificities. It has also become a key factor in the enduring vitality of the Chinese legal system through centuries of evolution. The third is impartiality of the law and unyielding enforcement. The Chinese legal tradition places great emphasis on the importance of enforcing laws strictly and impartially. This is reflected in maxims such as, once enacted, a law must be enforced, and anyone who violates it must be held to account. And the law does not favor the rich and the powerful. The phrase, "the law does not favor the rich and the powerful," underscores the impartiality of the law, signifying that justice does not bend to privilege. It also embodies the modern principle of equality before the law. This principle has been highly esteemed throughout successive dynasties and stands as one of the significant sources of the concept of governing based on the rule of law. Unyielding enforcement calls for law enforcement officials to regard the law as towering, significant, dignified, and unshakable as a mountain. Legend has it that During the Tang Dynasty, Li Yuanhong, a judicial officer in Yongzhou, faced a situation where his superior overturned a fair verdict out of fear of powerful influences. In response, Li boldly wrote on the blank space of the original judgment that even the southern mountain could be moved, but this verdict would remain unchanged. This sentence upheld justice and became a symbol of unwavering integrity in law enforcement. Later, generations condensed his words into the phrase, "enforce the law unwaveringly." Numerous literary works and historical records highlight their achievements in seeking justice for the people, handling cases according to the law, and enforcing the law with unwavering firmness. Among the most renowned are the stories of Di Renjie from the Tang Dynasty and Bao Zhen, known as Bao Qingtian from the Song Dynasty. Although the story of unyielding enforcement belongs to the past, the spirit of strict law enforcement continues to be passed down through generations. The fourth is a society free from litigation with harmony being cherished. The ideology of the Chinese legal system has traditionally upheld the principle of a society free from litigation, and harmony is cherished. Some thinkers in ancient China believed that if rulers could maintain integrity and moral uprightness, enrich social customs, and guide people with virtue, they could achieve a society free from litigation. Confucius said in the Analects, "In hearing cases, I am no better than any other man. What matters is to prevent litigation in the first place." A society free from litigation is also a manifestation of making harmony a top priority. It carries two layers of meaning. First, each individual consciously abides by rules, fundamentally avoiding disputes. Second, when disputes arise, traditional ethical values are used for mediation rather than resorting to litigation. The term 和 refers to harmony and appropriateness. 以和为贵 embodies the spirit of the Chinese nation, which opposes violent conflict and values peace and harmony. This concept has also profoundly influenced the Chinese perspective on law and justice. During the Western Zhou dynasty, the state established the position of a mediator, specifically tasked with settling disputes among people. Additionally, mediation institutions known as Shenming pavilions were set up in villages and towns across the country during the Ming Dynasty. These practices reflected an approach that emphasized the dissemination of laws, the importance of moral education, and the resolution of grassroots disputes through community mediation. The ideas embodied remain valuable and worth referencing even today. The legal system of ancient China contains a wealth of wisdom and resources. These ideas and principles have evolved through inheritance with its continued influence and gained modern reinterpretation. Finally, let's connect this rich legacy to three key areas of modern practice. The first is the codification and content of the Civil Code. A prime example is the Civil Code, the first law named as such in the People's Republic of China. It integrates various legal norms on personal relations and property relations in the civil field, forming a comprehensive system that spans from the general part to the 6 books on specific topics. and from underlying principles to concrete institutions. This codified legislation also represents the inheritance and development of historical legislative experience and techniques. In content, the Civil Code covers all aspects of people's lives. Its full respect and comprehensive protection of citizens' rights embody the traditional legal philosophy that the people are the foundation of the state. When the foundation is solid, the state is at peace. The second is the criminal law's leniency policy for juvenile offenders. The principle of cautious and restrained punishment emphasizes care for vulnerable groups. This is evident in modern judicial practices regarding juvenile offenders. When dealing with juvenile discipline, educational measures are prioritized over punitive ones, and juvenile criminal records can be sealed to prevent adverse effects on their future. Another case is the traditional notion of emphasizing virtue and being cautious with punishment. It underscores the protection of citizens' rights while avoiding excessive use of punishment. This is embodied in the modern legal framework of justifiable defense. The law robustly protects citizens' rights, encourages resistance against unlawful acts, and clearly defines the boundaries of excessive defense to ensure fairness and justice. The third is Fengqiao experience and the mediation system. In the new era, China has pioneered a new approach to social governance, which is resolving social conflicts and achieving harmony through grassroots people. Rooted in a people-centered philosophy, this approach integrates autonomy, rule of law, and moral governance. It is known as the Fengqiao experience. Mediation is a direct embodiment of the Fengqiao experience, representing a distinctively Chinese institution. Mediation is a non-litigation dispute resolution method where conflicting parties reach agreements facilitated by a neutral third party. These two practices align with the ancient Chinese philosophies of integration of rights and the law, governance with comprehensive measures, and valuing harmony and resolving disputes without litigation. They serve as a vivid example of the rule of law in action. In conclusion, Chinese legal culture is deeply rooted and historically rich, with its spirit and wisdom intricately woven into the entire process of constructing a socialist legal system with Chinese characteristics. This cultural heritage also offers unique Chinese insights to the advancement of global legal civilization.